The message arrived on a Tuesday, not with the dramatic flair of science fiction, no mysterious obelisk, no ships darkening the skies over major cities, but through the most mundane of channels, the International Deep Space Communication Array in Atacama, Chile. Dr. Maya Chen stared at the decoded transmission for the fifth time, her coffee gone cold beside her keyboard. The message was simple, direct, and world-shattering. To the governing authorities of planetary designation Sol 3, your species has been under evaluation for the past 87 standard cycles. The Galactic Federation Council has determined that humanity has reached a critical developmental threshold. You will be granted one standard solar rotation to demonstrate sufficient value to the galactic community, or your system will be placed under indefinite quarantine. Details for evaluation criteria will follow. High Council of the Galactic Federation. 96 hours later, Maya found herself in an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, surrounded by 32 of Earth's most brilliant minds. The UN Security Council had moved with unprecedented speed, bypassing the usual bureaucracy to assemble this team. They represented every field from quantum physics to xenobiology, psychology to materials science. Politicians and military leaders watched from a gallery above the central chamber, their faces grim. "So we have 1 year," Maya said, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility. As Earth's leading xenoanthropologist with 3 first-contact simulations to her credit, she'd been the obvious choice to lead this response team. 1 year to prove humanity's worth to a civilization so advanced they've been watching us without detection for nearly a century. Admiral Jackson, the gruff U.S. military liaison, leaned forward. "The question is, what exactly are they looking for? What constitutes value to a spacefaring federation?" Arjun Mehta, India's top theoretical physicist, removed his glasses and pinched the bridge of his nose. "Perhaps technological innovation, but we're clearly centuries behind them." "I don't think it's about technology," said Fatima al-Bushir, the renowned Sudanese ethicist. "If it were, why give us any chance at all? They could simply quarantine us now." Maya nodded. "Fatima's right. They're looking for something else, something unique to humanity." The discussion continued for days, while governments worldwide maintained public ignorance of the ultimatum. Fearing mass panic, the team worked tirelessly, analyzing every word of the increasingly detailed transmissions that followed the initial contact. By week 3, they'd established a tentative communication protocol with the Federation's observer, an entity identifying itself only as monitor. The information they received painted a picture of a vast interstellar community comprising thousands of species across multiple galactic arms, governed by a hierarchical council of the most advanced civilizations. "It's remarkable," Dr. Yusuf Ibrahim, the Egyptian xenolinguist, commented during one late-night session. "They have a standardized path for species development, like a cosmic kindergarten through university system. And we're apparently failing the entrance exam," Maya replied, studying the latest data. "According to these metrics, we're technologically on track, but flagged for concerning behavioral patterns and developmental instability." Lu Wei, the Chinese ecological systems engineer, looked up from his tablet. "They're worried about our aggression, our environmental record." "That's not entirely fair," protested Dr. Kimberly Washington, the American climatologist. "We've made significant strides in sustainable development over the past decades." "To us, perhaps," Maya said, "but to a civilization measuring progress in millennia. They see our wars, our climate crisis, our nuclear arsenals. They see a species that might become a threat." What followed was a global effort unlike any in human history, conducted in secret from the public, but with the full resources of every major nation. Research projects were accelerated, diplomatic initiatives strengthened, climate restoration efforts doubled. All while Maya's team tried to understand what specific demonstration would convince the Federation of humanity's value. 3 months in, the breakthrough came from an unexpected quarter. Dr. Carlos Reyes, a genomics researcher from Brazil, burst into Maya's office clutching his tablet, eyes wide with excitement. "It's not about what we've done," he said breathlessly. "It's about what we are." Carlos had been analyzing data on human genetic adaptation rates compared with the limited information they'd received about other Federation species. The results were startling. Humans adapted to new environments and challenges at rates far exceeding the galactic average. "It's the diversity," he explained to the assembled team later that day. "Most spacefaring species in the Federation evolved in relatively stable environments over much longer timeframes. But humans, we developed in wildly varying conditions. Our genome contains remarkable adaptation mechanisms." "So what?" Admiral Jackson asked. "We're good at changing. How does that help us now?" Maya's mind was already racing ahead, because adaptation is the foundation of survival, of innovation. She turned to Dr. Sophia Nikolaidis, the Greek neurochemist. "Sophia, your research on human neuroplasticity, could it be related?" Dr. Nikolaidis nodded slowly, then with increasing certainty. Yes, our brains form new neural pathways far more readily than should be evolutionarily necessary. We don't just adapt physically. We adapt cognitively, emotionally, socially. We reimagine ourselves constantly. For the first time since receiving the ultimatum, Maya felt a spark of hope. That's our value proposition. Not what we've achieved, but our capacity for change and growth. The team pivoted their efforts, developing a comprehensive demonstration of human adaptability. They compiled case studies of rapid human adaptation throughout history, from the settlement of Polynesia to the space program, from pandemic responses to climate adaptations. They designed experiments showcasing human problem-solving under pressure. But as their deadline approached the 6-month mark, a new complication arose. Strange accidents began plaguing their work: equipment failures, data corruption, even a small fire in the primary lab. Security footage revealed nothing suspicious, yet the pattern was unmistakable. "Sabotage," Admiral Jackson declared during an emergency meeting. But by whom? A foreign government. Maya had been reviewing the timing of the incidents. "No," she said quietly. "I think it's the Federation itself, or at least elements within it." "That makes no sense," Arjun objected. "Why give us a chance only to ensure we fail?" "Politics," said Fatima with a bitter smile. "Even advanced aliens must have factions, competing interests. Perhaps not everyone wants a new player in their cosmic game." The theory gained credibility when they detected quantum-level disturbances around their facilities, evidence of observation technologies far beyond human capabilities. Maya's team began implementing countermeasures, including working on multiple parallel approaches simultaneously to ensure redundancy. The sabotage escalated. 2 team members were hospitalized after a lab accident. Critical servers were compromised. Maya herself narrowly escaped injury when her car's autonomous systems mysteriously failed on a mountain road. Rather than deterring them, these challenges galvanized the team. They worked in smaller groups, implemented advanced security protocols, and began using the attacks themselves as data points, evidence of human resilience and adaptability under threat. 8 months into their year-long window, Carlos and Sofia achieved a breakthrough that changed everything. Using insights from human neuroplasticity and genetic adaptation mechanisms, they developed a prototype technology that could dramatically accelerate terraforming processes, transforming hostile environments into habitable ones in a fraction of the time conventional methods required. It's based entirely on principles derived from human adaptation, Sofia explained during a presentation to government representatives. "We've essentially encoded human adaptability into an environmental system. The implications are enormous," Carlos added, "not just for colonization, but for healing damaged ecosystems, reversing environmental degradation, even restoring planets considered beyond salvation." The prototype worked. Initial tests transformed a sealed chamber of toxic volcanic soil into a thriving microcosm in weeks rather than years. When applied to larger test environments, the results were equally impressive. Maya knew they had found their demonstration. This technology, which they named ADAPTERA, represented something unique to humanity. Not just a technological achievement, but one that embodied the very essence of what made humans special: their unparalleled ability to change, to grow, to transform hostile circumstances into opportunity. As they prepared for the formal presentation to the Federation's Evaluation Committee, Maya received another message from Monitor. Captain Chen, be advised that certain council factions have deemed your species potential disruptive. Exercise extreme caution. The evaluation will not be impartial. A concerned observer. Monitor had never before addressed her as Captain, a military rank she didn't hold. The message's implications were clear. The game had changed, and the stakes were even higher than they'd realized. Humanity wasn't just fighting for acceptance. They were fighting against active opposition from within the Federation itself. That night, as Maya worked late in her office, she received a visitor. A maintenance worker she didn't recognize entered to check the ventilation system. As he worked, he spoke without looking at her. "They fear what they don't understand," he said in perfect, unaccented English. "And they don't understand how a species so young could adapt so quickly." Maya froze. "Who are you?" The man finally turned, revealing eyes with pupils that reflected light like a cat's. "Someone who believes humanity deserves its chance. There are others like me on the council." "You're not human," Maya stated the obvious. "No, but I was once considered as primitive as they now consider you." He moved toward the door. "Your ADAPTERA technology is more significant than you realize. It doesn't just transform environments. It could transform the Federation itself." Before leaving, he placed a small crystal on her desk. "When the evaluation comes, they will try to discredit you. This contains evidence of their interference. Use it wisely." After he departed, Maya studied the crystal, which contained quantum-encrypted data she couldn't yet access. She called an emergency meeting of her core team for the following morning. With 3 months remaining before the Federation's Evaluation Committee arrived on Earth, they needed to prepare not just a demonstration of humanity's value, but a defense against those who would deny them their place among the stars. As dawn broke over the Rocky Mountains, Maya stared out her window at the landscape below. Somewhere above, beyond the blue of Earth's atmosphere, forces were gathering, some to judge humanity, others to condemn them before they could even make their case. But for the first time since this all began, Maya felt a certainty in her core. Humans had faced extinction-level threats throughout their history: ice ages, supervolcanoes, plagues, and had not merely survived but thrived. This cosmic challenge would be no different. The Federation had unwittingly given humanity exactly what it needed to excel: an impossible problem with everything at stake. And solving impossible problems was humanity's specialty. The Federation delegation arrived precisely 1 year after their ultimatum, on a cloudless autumn day. Their ship, an elegant silver-hulled vessel that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light, descended silently onto the specially constructed landing pad in the Gobi Desert. The location had been chosen for its isolation and the ease with which it could be secured from curious eyes. Maya stood at the forefront of the welcoming committee, flanked by representatives from every major Earth government. Despite the gravity of the occasion, she felt strangely calm. The past 3 months had been a whirlwind of preparation, refinement, and countermeasures against potential sabotage. The ADAPTERA technology had been perfected, with successful demonstrations on increasingly challenging environments. They were ready. The ship's hull shimmered, and a doorway materialized where there had been only seamless metal a moment before. 3 figures emerged, their forms humanoid but clearly alien. The central figure stood nearly 7 feet tall with iridescent blue skin and 4 arms. Flanking it were 2 shorter beings with gold-flecked gray skin and large, lidless eyes. "I am Archon Zelos, representative of the High Council of the Galactic Federation, the tall being announced in flawless English. "These are my associates, observers Tella and Miro." The voice was melodious, yet carried an undercurrent of authority that silenced the murmurs among the human delegation. Admiral Jackson stepped forward. "On behalf of the United Nations and all peoples of Earth, welcome to our world." The formalities were brief. Within an hour, the Federation representatives were being transported to the evaluation facility, a repurposed military base where Maya's team had prepared their demonstration. During the journey, Maya studied the aliens surreptitiously. Archon Zelos maintained a rigid posture, revealing nothing, but observer Tella kept casting curious glances at the landscape beyond the transport windows. Observer Miro, meanwhile, seemed fixated on the human security detail, eyes narrowing whenever they made a movement. At the facility, they were joined by the rest of Maya's core team: Sophia, Carlos, Fatima, Arjun, Lu Wei, and several others who had been instrumental in developing ADAPTERA. The atmosphere was tense as they led the visitors to the main presentation chamber. "We understand you've developed something you believe demonstrates your species' value," Archon Zelo stated, taking the central seat in the observation area. "You may proceed." Maya nodded to Sophia, who activated the holographic display. "Distinguished representatives, we present ADAPTERA, a technology that embodies humanity's unique contribution to the galactic community." The presentation was comprehensive, beginning with the theoretical foundations drawn from human adaptability mechanisms and proceeding to practical applications. They showed time-lapse recordings of test environments transformed from hostile to habitable in fractions of the time conventional methods would require. "The implications extend beyond terraforming," Carlos explained. "ADAPTERA can revitalize dying ecosystems, neutralize pollution, even reclaim worlds previously considered beyond salvation." Observer Tella leaned forward, clearly intrigued. "Your species developed this within the evaluation period." "The core principles, yes," Maya confirmed, "though it builds on decades of previous research." Archon Zelos remained impassive. A single technology, however impressive, does not necessarily demonstrate sufficient value for Federation inclusion. "We anticipated that response," Maya said, "which is why we've prepared a practical demonstration." They moved to an adjoining chamber housing 3 large environmental domes. Each contained identical samples of highly toxic soil from a former nuclear testing site, an environment so contaminated that nothing had grown there for decades. The first dome demonstrates standard Federation terraforming techniques based on the data you shared with us, Lu Wei explained. The second uses our ADAPTERA system. The third combines both approaches. With a nod from Maya, Lu Wei activated all 3 systems simultaneously. In the first dome, gradual changes began as expected, toxin-consuming microorganisms slowly processing the contamination. In the second dome, ADAPTERA initiated a cascading effect, with specialized microbes multiplying rapidly, breaking down pollutants while simultaneously enriching the soil. But it was the third dome that captured everyone's attention. The combined approach created a synergistic effect that accelerated the process exponentially. Within minutes, visible changes were occurring in the soil composition. "Remarkable," Observer Tella murmured. "The adaptive principles enhance our existing technology by orders of magnitude." Observer Miro remained silent, but Maya noticed a subtle shift in posture, a tensing that set off alarm bells in her mind. She recalled the mysterious maintenance workers' warning and the strange incidents that had plagued their work. Her suspicions were confirmed moments later when alarms blared throughout the facility. The main power grid failed abruptly, plunging them into darkness before emergency systems engage. The environmental control systems for the demonstration domes began to malfunction, with temperature and pressure fluctuating wildly. "A regrettable technical failure," Observer Miro commented with suspicious promptness. "Perhaps your systems are not as reliable as claimed." Maya exchanged glances with Admiral Jackson, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. They had prepared for this possibility. Actually, Maya replied calmly, this gives us an opportunity to demonstrate another aspect of human value, our response to unexpected crises. She signaled to her team, who immediately implemented their contingency plan. Backup systems designed to operate on completely isolated power sources activated. Sophia initiated a secondary demonstration protocol, while Carlos and Lu Wei worked to stabilize the original domes. Humans have evolved in an environment of constant challenge and change, Maya explained as her team worked seamlessly around them. Disruption is not an obstacle for us. It's our natural state. We thrive in chaos. Within minutes, the systems were back online, and the demonstrations had resumed. What's more, the team had adapted the parameters in real time, compensating for the interruption and actually improving the efficiency of the process. Observer Miro's expression darkened. A convenient recovery. Archon-Zelos raised a hand for silence. Let us continue with the evaluation. The demonstration proceeded, with the third dome showing particularly dramatic results. Within hours, a process that should have taken months was nearing completion. Seeds planted in the newly transformed soil were already germinating, visible proof of ADAPTERI's effectiveness. As they observed the results, Maya decided it was time to play her final card. She subtly retrieved the crystal given to her by the mysterious visitor 3 months earlier. Archon-Zelos, before you make your final determination, there is additional information you should consider. Maya inserted the crystal into a reader, and a new holographic display materialized in the center of the room. The display showed detailed records of the sabotage attempts against their project, quantum-level interference traces, micro-scale disruptive technologies, and most damning of all, communication logs linking Observer Miro to an unregistered faction within the Federation Council. The chamber fell silent. Observer Tella looked stunned. Archon-Zelos turned slowly to face Observer Miro, who had gone rigid. These are fabrications, Miro insisted, desperate attempts to distract from their inadequacy. The data carries authentication markers from High Monitor Velen, Archon-Zelos stated, voice cold with controlled anger. Explain yourself, Observer. When Miro remained silent, Maya stepped forward. We don't need an explanation. We already understand. Some within the Federation fear change. They fear disruption of the established order. Most of all, they fear us, not for what we are, but for what we might become. Archon-Zelos regarded Maya with new intensity. And what do you believe you might become, Dr. Chen? Partners, she replied without hesitation. Innovators, problem solvers. We don't seek to displace or dominate. We seek to contribute. ADAPTERI is just the beginning of what humanity can offer the galactic community. The confrontation with Miro concluded swiftly. Security drones materialized from hidden compartments in the Archon's clothing, surrounding the disgraced observer. With a gesture from Zelos, both Miro and the drones vanished in a flash of light, presumably transported back to the ship. The interference faction will be dealt with, Archon-Zelos announced. But the question of humanity's evaluation remains. Observer Tella stepped forward. If I may, Archon, what we've witnessed today goes beyond the technology itself. The humans anticipated sabotage, prepared contingencies, and adapted to crisis in real time, all while maintaining their focus on demonstrating their value. She gestured to the thriving third dome, and the results speak for themselves. Archon-Zelos considered this for a long moment. Dr. Chen, I must confess that this evaluation was more than it appeared. The ultimatum, while genuine, was also a test in itself. Maya felt a chill. A test. The Federation has encountered many species throughout its existence, some technologically brilliant but rigid and unable to change, others highly adaptable but lacking technological sophistication. Few combine both qualities effectively. The Archon's 4 arms made a complex gesture that somehow conveyed respect. Rarer still are those who can identify attempts to undermine them and respond not with aggression, but with ingenuity. You wanted to see how we'd handle opposition. Admiral Jackson realized. Precisely. Though Observer Miro's faction took matters further than sanctioned, Archon Zelos turned back to Maya. Your ADAPTRRA technology is impressive, but your team's response to crisis, that was the true demonstration of humanity's value. The Archon's next words changed everything. The Federation doesn't merely need new members who can follow established paths. We need civilizations that can help us solve problems we haven't yet imagined. Your world faces challenges that would have destroyed many species: climate instability, resource limitations, social divisions, yet you continue to advance, to adapt, to find solutions where others would see only obstacles. Maya felt a surge of pride for her species, even as the implications of the Archon's words sank in. Then the evaluation is complete. Earth will not be quarantined. Archon Zelos made another gesture, and a small device appeared in one of its hands. Instead, we extend an offer of provisional alliance status, the first step toward full Federation membership. The human delegation erupted in barely controlled celebration. Maya maintained her composure, but inside, relief and triumph warred for dominance. There is more, the Archon continued once the excitement had subsided. Based on the demonstration of ADAPTERIA and your species' unique adaptability, the High Council is prepared to offer humanity a special development track. Rather than the standard centuries-long integration process, Earth will be granted access to specific Federation technologies and knowledge bases intended to accelerate your development, under supervision, of course. And in return, Maya asked, knowing there must be conditions. In return, we ask that humanity share its adaptive technologies and perspectives. The Federation faces challenges of its own: rigid thinking, stagnation in certain sectors, resistance to necessary change. We believe your species' approach may provide solutions we have been unable to find within our existing paradigms. The irony wasn't lost on Maya. The very qualities that had made humanity seem dangerous to some within the Federation, their unpredictability, their rapid adaptability, their disruptive potential, were precisely what made them valuable to the Federation as a whole. As negotiations for the alliance began, Maya found a moment to slip away to a quiet observation deck overlooking the facility. The sun was setting over the desert, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. She sensed rather than heard someone approach. Your leadership was pivotal, came a familiar voice. She turned to find the maintenance worker who had given her the crystal, now dressed in Federation attire. High Monitor Valen, I presume? She asked with a small smile. Indeed. He moved to stand beside her. Few species would have succeeded under such scrutiny and active interference. Fewer still would have responded with ingenuity rather than aggression when threatened. We nearly didn't, Maya admitted. There were voices calling for military preparations, for weapons development. Yet you chose another path. Maya nodded, watching the stars begin to appear in the darkening sky. We realized that proving our worth meant demonstrating not just what we can do, but who we are. And who are you, Maya Chen of Earth? She considered the question carefully. We're contradictions, fragile yet resilient, divided yet united when it matters, destructive yet creative. She turned to face him fully. Most of all, we're unfinished, still becoming. And I think that's why some in the Federation feared us, because an unfinished species is unpredictable. Valen nodded. While an ancient species can become stuck, set in its ways, he gestured toward the facility where humans and Federation representatives were beginning to forge a new relationship. Perhaps we need your unfinished nature as much as you need our experience. As Maya rejoined the proceedings, she carried a new understanding. The Galactic Federation hadn't merely accepted humanity. They had recognized something essential about them, something that the cosmos itself seemed to value. The ability to face the unknown, not with fear, but with adaptability, creativity, and stubborn determination. Earth had found its place among the stars not by conforming to alien expectations, but by embracing its uniquely human qualities. And in doing so, They hadn't just secured their own future, they had begun to change the Federation itself, setting in motion a transformation whose effects would ripple across the galaxy for generations to come.